David Schumacher was an unemployed 21-year-old predator caught in the 2006 Fort Myers, Florida sting operation featured on the show To Catch a Predator. Using the screen name Freebird72000, he initiated a sexually explicit chat with a decoy posing as a 14-year-old girl named B. He is best known for his hilariously absurd attempt to hide his face when the cameras came out, his wannabe gangsta-like behavior, and his long rap sheet of legal infractions both before and after his appearance on the show. He vehemently insisted his explicit chat was nothing more than role-playing. Many years later, he continued to use this flimsy defense to excuse his behavior on his YouTube channel, AAA THE REAL INFO / David Schumacher. All of these factors led him to becoming one of the most infamous predators ever featured on the show. Schumacher's chat with the decoy took place over the course of 4 days prior to their face-to-face meeting. During their online conversation, he invited her to a party where he planned to get her drunk and stoned. When the age difference was brought up, he said she seemed to be at least 17, whatever that means, and it wouldn't be a big deal. He then informed the decoy that she was going to put his dick in her mouth and that he likes to hit it from the back. This was his plan for their first face-to-face meeting. It's unclear whether he had his license revoked or if he just didn't own a car. Either way, he had to rely on someone else to bum a ride and drop them off at the party. If that wasn't humiliating enough to begin with, he couldn't even find a friend to play chauffeur. Nope, he had to rely on his own sister to do the honors, which made him look even lamer than the guy described in that old TLC song, No Scrubs. Somehow this didn't dampen his confidence in the least. As his sister waited in the car, he walks in all cavalier and gangsta-like, talking to the decoy about acquiring some green. And then Chris Hansen walks in. Schumacher initially mistook Hansen to be the girl's father. As the conversation progressed, he worked out a second theory regarding Hansen's identity. While maintaining his ironic and undeserved air of confidence, he blurts out,
"You seem like law enforcement,"
and claims that he happens to know law enforcement. But Chris sets him straight by finally revealing his true identity. This revelation seems to result in making Schumacher suddenly pretend to be a frightened turtle. Now realizing the gig's up and that the entire nation is about to find out his dirty little secret, he finally comes back out of his shell and calmly reverts back to the totally believable defense of, "It's just role-playing, dog." I'm being facetious, of course. Mind you, Schumacher's sister is still waiting with 2 babies in the car, probably wondering what the heck is taking them so long. He asks Hansen several times if the police are waiting for him outside, but Hansen refuses to give an answer. Schumacher then has the nerve to ask Hansen if he could smoke in the house. When Hansen said no, our post-teenage mutant pedo turtle steps outside with high hopes of enjoying a nice, refreshing cigarette. Sadly for him, the cops take him to the ground before he has the chance to light up. During the brief scuffle, his pack of cigarettes fell out of his pocket. He remained boisterous and defiant during the arrest. While cuffed and being led to a police car, he seemed more concerned about being reunited with his beloved pack of smokes than he was about the trouble he was in. It was only after this that his sister learned about his perverted intentions. Understandably shocked, she informed the police that he told her that his date was 17 and that they were merely going to some innocent birthday party. Schumacher continued being a total during the entirety of his arrest. Aside from a few grass stains from the incredibly satisfying to watch takedown, he scoffed at the police when they didn't find any other type of green plant material on him. He also bragged about how he didn't need to hook up with some 14-year-old because he got all kinds of girls. Before being carted off to jail, he tells all parties involved in his arrest that he plans to sue everyone when he's found not guilty. He ended up being acquitted in this particular case, but never followed through on his promise to sue everyone. We'll touch more on that in a moment. At the time of his arrest, he already had 12 other charges pending against him, on top of his newly acquired sex offense charges. His other charges included grand theft auto, a stabbing, and a robbery. His charges stemming from the sting operation were dropped in large part due to accepting a plea deal for the myriad of other charges he was facing at the time. His lawyer subpoenaed the computer used by the decoy from the watchdog organization Perverted Justice. Shockingly, Perverted Justice did not comply with the subpoena and refused to relinquish their computer. This unexpected turn of events raised many eyebrows. His lawyer rightly capitalized on this, as it raised suspicions about the possibility that the chat log may have been edited by Perverted Justice to make it more incriminating. Then came the court order for the FBI to seize the computer from Perverted Justice's headquarters. While members of the FBI were en route to carry out their orders, members from Perverted Justice wiped all files pertaining to Schumacher's case, which was the primary evidence the prosecution would have been able to use. It's unclear how Perverted Justice found out the FBI was on their way, but their disturbing actions make one wonder how many other chat logs they manipulated during their years in operation. Though their mission was admirable, there's a right way of going about it and a wrong way. In this case, any level-headed individual would be forced to concede that they definitely handled Schumacher's case the wrong way, not to mention the fact that they themselves broke the law in doing so. Had they conducted the sting operation in an ethical and honest manner, the evidence against Schumacher would have been much, much stronger. I have to wonder if the exclusion of the sex offense charges would have even been offered as part of a plea deal had they not been forced to throw out the questionable and potentially falsified evidence. Unfortunately, we'll never know. Schumacher ended up being convicted on a couple unrelated charges from his arrests that occurred prior to the sting operation. His convictions included felony aggravated assault and witness intimidation. He was sentenced to 4 years and 7 months, but was released after serving only 2 years and 11 months. Even after losing all credibility, Perverted Justice insisted the aggravated assault conviction had something to do with their efforts during the sting operation. However, Schumacher's criminal record clearly states otherwise. It was truly disappointing to see the watchdog organization stoop so low. Apparently, a few of the volunteers associated with the organization had themselves been victimized during their childhoods. While this certainly gives context to their vigilante vengeance, it does not excuse their actions in the Schumacher case. And even though they clearly tampered with and destroyed evidence, it's surprising that, at least as far as we know, no one from the organization faced any legal repercussions over it. As previously mentioned, Schumacher has a YouTube channel named AAA THE REAL INFO /David Schumacher. His channel, which is still up to this day, was launched in May of 2017. On it, he discusses civics and how it related to his case, as well as how so many Americans unknowingly give up their own constitutional rights. He goes on to criticize Perverted Justice for their dishonesty and their shocking choice to destroy evidence, potentially to save their own necks. In another video, he remarks on current affairs in the US, criticizes the police and everyone involved with To Catch a Predator, and calls out Stacey Kutzler specifically from Perverted Justice, claiming that she withheld evidence and manufactured the incriminating chat logs. Due to her actions, we will never know what was really said in those chat logs. As she was the one responsible for deleting the logs, Kutzler was named in the move to dismiss the sex offense charges against Schumacher. Even after all of that, Schumacher just couldn't keep himself out of trouble. Just 3 months after launching his YouTube channel, in August of 2017, he was arrested for the possession of over 20 grams of his favorite type of green plant material. 2 years later, in May of 2019, he was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. After serving just over 8 months, he was released again in April of 2020, which was kind of funny considering it was for 2020, but I digress. Later in December of that same year, he tried to steal a car at a gas station in Punta Gorda, Florida. The car's owner caught him in the act and he was arrested once again. Oh, he knows law enforcement all right, but get this. He tried to tell the cops that he believed there were nuclear cases inside the car. I mean, you gotta give the guy a few points for creativity. He was arrested for attempted grand theft auto and misdemeanor burglary. This time, he was kept in jail until such time that a mental competency hearing could take place. His hearing was held 4 months later in April of 2021. Surprising absolutely no one, the court concluded the guy was bonkers and declared him mentally incompetent to stand trial, which won him a first-class ticket for an exclusive, all-expenses-paid luxury stay at the local mental institution. Sadly, the facility had no more rooms available for Schumacher, which surely broke his heart. He requested a second competency hearing so that he could receive credit for the time that he had already served. His request was denied. By October, a room had opened up at the mental institution, and thus he was swiftly committed. By the benevolent grace of our joke of a legal system, by 2022, the zookeepers had released Turtle Man once again to continue his life of degeneracy. From there, he contacted Joey's Tcap channel, asking Joey to upload an update video about Schumacher's current life situation. At some point after that, Schumacher claimed that he had left the US and was living somewhere in the United Kingdom. In the update video, he described how difficult it was for him to finally be allowed to move to another country. He expressed his belief that he was in a place where he felt he could finally get his life moving in the right direction. He also talked about how much he loved and appreciated his new girlfriend, named Emma, how she had a good job as a teacher, and that she was a good girl who had never been in trouble. However, some believe that his supposed relationship with Emma may have been a lie. We'll delve deeper into that shortly. In a letter to a judge, Emma had allegedly described Schumacher as a reformed man who had grown by leaps and bounds from his tumultuous, shady past. Among other accolades, she wrote of his generosity and charitable involvement with local homeless shelters. The two lovebirds expressed their plans to settle down and start a family in their new, happy home across the pond. But less than a month after this, he was arrested again for burglary in Florida? Wait a sec, wasn't he supposed to be in the UK? What the heck is he doing in Florida? How'd he get there? Well, either he flew back right after the interview for some reason, which is a possibility, or he was lying about having moved overseas. Now, if he was lying about being in the UK, then could he also have been lying about this Emma character? If he fabricated Emma, then who's this girl? I don't know. She doesn't exactly strike me as someone he picked up in the red light district, but that's just me. Personally, I'm inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to Emma. Even so, they strike me as an extremely unlikely couple. The footage from Schumacher's May 18, 2023 arrest was posted to Joey's Tcap channel, link in description. This time he was hit with 3 charges, including theft, damage of property, and burglary. He received 2 sentences on October 24, 2023. One was for 15 years behind bars and the other for 5 years. Both are to be served consecutively, making a total of 20 years minus time served while awaiting trial. And on top of this, to add insult to injury, he was ordered to fork over just over $1,500 worth of fines. Even if he manages to get out early, if he's even eligible for parole, it will be quite some time before he re-enters into society. So the story of David Schumacher is pretty much over, for now at least. I'd love to interview Emma if she'd even be comfortable with that. If anyone knows how I can contact her, please hit me up in the comments and email me at madcatproductions@proton.me. Hey everyone, Drew here from Mad Cat Mysteries, and I hope you enjoyed the video you just watched. If you did, you can click on the subscribe button below. I'd appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.